Hey everyone, Soda here again. Just wanted to finish up my quick take videos that I was talking about with Nintendo Direct from yesterday, March 8th, 2018. So the third-party titles that were announced yesterday were Okami HD, which will be the first time that I get to play this, and actually it's the first time I'm playing just about every title that was announced that's being ported over except for Crash Bandicoot. But this will be the first time I get to finally play Okami. They're going to be using the touchscreen controls and also using Joy-Con motion controls, which will be nice. It was a little disappointing to find out that it's only going to be released digitally instead of physically as well. They announced that Dark Souls is going to be getting a network beta test, which is surprising to me because I've never actually heard about anybody playing Dark Souls online. I thought it was just a single-player game. But Dark Souls is also getting its own amiibo, which is strange because there haven't really been too many amiibo being put out lately, and especially very few third-party companies. We have Octopath Traveler finally getting a release date, and they also talked about two of the other characters, in addition to the two that we were able to play with during the demo. I'm really excited about Octopath Traveler. It's probably one of my most anticipated games that was announced early on in the Switch's lifespan, and I really like the art style and the more mature themes that were present in the demo. Really showed us that this is kind of a new Nintendo of America that we're dealing with as far as the Switch goes, because those more adult issues probably would have been censored out or changed out during the localization process. So I'm really excited to see what kind of controversial material they might cover in Octopath Traveler. Then they showed a little bit of gameplay footage for Travis Strikes Again, which is of course the next entry in the No More Heroes series. That was an exclusive on the Wii. Again, I've never really played those games, but this looks really like a really fun game because they're not just sticking to one genre for this game. They're actually having Travis jump into different indie games or indie style games, and each of those games is going to have their own genre and gameplay style. We have Crash Bandicoot, as I mentioned earlier, and Crash was one of my favorite games that came out on the original PlayStation, as I'm sure it was for a lot of other people. And honestly, it's probably one of the games from the original PlayStation that aged the best out of all of those games, because it was really just a 2D platformer in the 3D realm, and so it didn't suffer from a lot of the issues of poor camera controls and bad camera angles and inconsistent hit detection and weird kind of platforms that look like they were there but they weren't quite where they were. Mario 64 was really one of the few games that got that right in the early days. One of the games that I was most excited to hear coming to the Switch, well, actually having confirmed it coming to the Switch, is South Park: The Fractured But Whole. I really loved how in the Direct the presenter was very careful about enunciating fractured but whole, so he wouldn't go with the double entendre that is obviously meant for the title. I was really kind of intrigued by Undertale coming, and while it wasn't part of the Direct, it was also announced that Game Maker Studio 2 was going to be on the Nintendo Switch, and it kind of makes sense because Undertale was made in Game Maker Studio, and hopefully that opens the door for other ports from games made in Game Maker Studio, such as Hyper Light Drifter. One that I was very intrigued by when I saw that it was coming out on the PS4 and now is coming to the Switch is Little Nightmares. And what was really cool about Little Nightmares is that my daughter was watching the Direct with me, and she got really excited about Little Nightmares. Actually, the only thing that made her more excited during this Direct was the Splatoon 2 DLC, which I'll get to in a little bit. So that covers it for third-party announcements, and so now we're going to move on to the Nintendo portion of the Direct. So right out of the bat, I kind of just want to get these littler things out of the way. Oh, at least in my opinion, are littler things. There's an ARMS online tournament for the United States and Canada that is currently ongoing. I believe it runs through March 18th, and the top 8 finalists will go to another tournament that takes place later on in the month. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition got its, or Legendary Edition maybe? Hyrule Warriors port is getting, or got its release date and is coming soon. That's not really a game that I'm too worried about, not too concerned with it. I'm not really a huge Zelda fan, and so I don't really like the Warriors games all that much either, so there's not really anything there that intrigues me. Sushi Striker Way of the Sushido is a really interesting kind of arcadey game, and when I watched the trailer, I realized that it was giving me a very strong Penguin Wars vibe, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that with Penguin Wars already coming, I'm not too worried about Sushi Striker. It's actually coming to the Switch and 3DS, and I might actually be more interested on the 3DS. On the other hand, the next game that was announced was Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and it was coming with a lot of added content using kingdoms from Mario Odyssey, and that was actually one of the games that almost convinced me to buy a Wii U in the days leading up to the Switch announcement. I heard so many great things about how much fun Captain Toad was, and I've always been a huge fan of Toad. Captain Toad is also coming out on 3DS, but that's definitely a game I would rather pick up on the Switch. They did announce Splatoon 2 DLC. There are some new stages, some new weapons that are coming. There's a substantial expansion pack coming that is mainly focused on single player, which is really good for me because I'm primarily a single player gamer when it comes to games like that. If Splatoon 2 had like local split screen multiplayer, I'd be all about it, but I do hop on Splatoon occasionally to play online, but the primary focus in Splatoon in my household is my girls. They really love Splatoon, they love playing it a lot. And I do come on and play during Splatfests and things like that on occasion, but generally speaking, I don't really touch Splatoon too much, so an expansion pack that's coming out with 80 levels of single player content is pretty exciting, actually. Then they showed off a lot of new features for Mario Tennis Aces, which is really cool because I've never actually played a Mario sports game. It is interesting that there's a story mode. It looks like it'll be a lot of fun to play. And again, it's a game that I'll probably pick up anyway so I can play with my family. And I'm looking forward to the fact that there's a story mode. And then finally, of course, the big elephant in the room for everybody with the Direct, and seemed to be everybody's most exciting part, was the announcement of Smash. Now, the odd thing for me was that when I was watching it, they started off with the Inklings, and of course, and actually I thought that it was going to be a surprise announcement for Splatoon coming to 3DS, because they already talked about Splatoon DLC. Why else would they have the Inklings, and why else would they be talking about Splatoon? Of course, we now know that Inklings are coming to Smash Brothers, and there seems to be a lot of confusion. People are not sure if it's going to be a port of Smash 4 or if it's going to be Smash 5. I do think that it's a Smash 5. I think if it had been a port, they would have said that immediately. They would have shown gameplay, and maybe even said what's going to be included. I think that it has to be Smash 5 because of that, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of the reasons it's coming so soon after the last Smash is that they are using Smash 4's engine as building blocks so that they can get the product to market a little bit more quickly but still have it balanced. And I'm also hoping that part of the reason it's getting an earlier release than expected is that there's a smaller roster to work with, and of course they can add free DLC characters as time goes on, but that'll actually get it out for either the launch of Switch's online service or it'll get out for holiday this year. One of those two things is what they're aiming for, I'm sure. So I am excited that Smash is coming, but mainly because I do have people to play with, and obviously it's going to give me a lot of opportunities to interact with everybody online, because everybody's going to be on Smash Online. But I'll also be able to take my Switch to work with me, and we'll be able to play Smash there. But I was actually most excited about Crash Bandicoot and South Park being confirmed, because those have been rumored for quite a while now, and it's one of those situations where there's just so many rumors from so many different sources, and it's always been like accidental press listing, accidental store listing, retail store. You could pre-order the games on different sites in different countries, and usually when rumors like that keep popping up, it's generally a confirmation, even though there wasn't anything official. So I'm really excited about South Park and Crash Bandicoot coming over to the Switch. I've been suspecting that Crash Bandicoot might come as soon as it was not quite clear if it was going to be a PlayStation 4 exclusive, because it was never advertised that way. Sony kind of tried to push it like, oh yeah, it's coming back to the Sony PlayStation, but ever since Activision's had Crash has been everywhere and everything, and so it's not really a surprise that he's finally coming to a Nintendo console with the original trilogy, at least. So that's what I think about the Direct. I'm really looking forward to any upcoming news and actually getting into a lot of these games that they were talking about. I just really wish that it were July already, so I could get through those 3 really close releases, which were the Crash Bandicoot, Captain Toad, and Octopath Traveler, all come out within a couple of days of each other. So, until next time, see you guys later. Remember to subscribe. Bye.